We'll start with kind of a general understanding of what riboflavin is, B2. Let's see here. Let's get a better color than that. There we go. So riboflavin, aka vitamin B2, is a water-soluble vitamin. It's part of the B vitamin complex. And water-soluble means that basically it's soluble in water, so when you take it in, it has a relatively short half-life, not a great storage in the body. The half-life is about 48 hours, meaning that if you take riboflavin as a supplement, within about 48 hours, most of that will be out of you. So from a food perspective, it's important to get riboflavin in on a daily basis every day within your diet because it leaves your body so quickly. So keep that in mind. It's not like fat-soluble vitamins where you can take, like the vitamin D where we've talked about, large dosing where you can take large doses and it'll stay with you for a relatively longer period of time. This will be out of you within 48 hours pretty quickly. And so it's very important to get daily intake. Otherwise, you can start to manifest some of the symptoms of deficiency, which are, by the way, written right here. So let's zoom in on the image here. You've got a number of different symptoms. I'm going to highlight a few of these because some of these are super common and actually more common than others. So some of the big ones, this is a big one. Light sensitivity or photosensitivity is a very common manifestation. So if you're the kind of person that you find yourself reaching for your sunglasses every time you get in the car and you're driving home, you can't handle the bright lights, this is where you need to think about riboflavin as a potential. So again, photosensitivity, light sensitivity, a very common manifestation of riboflavin deficiency. Now you'll see here, there's several different ones with a mouth on them, right? Inflammation in the mouth, cracked or chapped lips, cracked corners of the mouth ulcers, as well as magenta or dark purple discoloration of the tongue. So these are also very common. They cluster together and they generally tend to manifest not just riboflavin, but all B vitamins. So particularly B3, B2, B6, B12, and folate are the ones that we'll see most commonly with these oral symptoms, these oral manifestations. So again, inflammation of the mouth in general, and then we have cracked or chapped lips. So if you're, reaching for the Carmex or the chapstick or your lipstick, on a frequent basis because your lips are super dry, again, that might be vitamin B2 deficiency. If you are dealing with the cracks in the corners of the lips, here in the corners, those cracks like that, very common symptom of vitamin B2 deficiency. As a matter of fact, in my practice, this one I probably see more than the others, just again in my own personal experience in helping people. And then mouth ulcers, which interestingly we talked about just last week. We talked about mouth ulcers and how gluten can cause mouth ulcers, but also vitamin B2 deficiency and then the Magenta Tongue. So these, again, oral manifestations of vitamin B2 deficiency. Now, one of the other more common things that we'll see is fatigue. Fatigue, very, very common. And let's talk a little bit about why. Without trying to bore you too much with the biochemistry. So I'm going to make a little bit of room here on the board. Why? So a couple of the names for riboflavin, and if you ever took biochemistry in high school or college, you may remember this term FAD. FAD stands for flavin adenine dinucleotide. And this is oftentimes in your textbook in biochemistry, but they don't tell you, your instructors very rarely tell you that FAD is actually vitamin B2. But remember, flavin, this is riboflavin, that's the word, which basically means yellow. And this is one of the reasons why your urine is bright yellow when you take riboflavin. It turns bright yellow. So here's one of the things I get, some doctors will say to their patients, oh, you're just peeing out expensive urine when you're peeing out riboflavin. Remember, riboflavin has a very short half-life. So of course it's gonna turn your pee yellow. It doesn't mean you're peeing it all out. It's a dye. It actually is used in a number of food preps as a coloring agent because of its very vivid yellow color. So if you're taking a B complex, for example, and you're peeing a bright yellow into the toilet, that's actually being caused by the flavonoid, or the flavin rather, not flavonoid, the flavin from riboflavin. So back to the biochemistry, FAD transports hydrogen. So the way energy production works in your cell is there's a process called the ETC. The ETC, again, I don't want to get too biochemical, the electron transport chain. This is a chemical reaction that occurs inside your mitochondria. And you've all probably heard that the mitochondria are where energy is created. It's oftentimes referred to as the powerhouse of the cell. So flavin adenine dinucleotide, or riboflavin, FAD, picks up hydrogen and becomes FADH, and it transports the hydrogen, drops it off at what's called the ETC. So it's basically carrying that hydrogen to a pumping system or a pumping station where that hydrogen can help pump these different channels that help generate what we know as ATP. ATP is what your body needs to make energy, right? So if you don't have riboflavin, you don't have much energy, you're going to get quite fatigued. So this again, you don't have to remember the biochemistry here. This isn't going to be a biochemistry test for you. But FAD, for some of you, you may be shaking your head. Yes, I remember. Some of you nurses, maybe some of you who are professionals out there remember learning about FAD in biology or chemistry. Again, this is where it comes from. So I wanted you guys to understand that. So fatigue, because of the low ability to generate energy, and this is especially true in individuals who eat plenty of food. So you get plenty of calories per se, but you can't convert those calories into ATP, and riboflavin deficiency is one of the things that can cause that. Now, another common one is the skin inflammation. This has actually been shown. So if you've got eczema, if you've got unexplainable skin inflammation, you might want to think riboflavin, especially if you've got the fatigue and the light sensitivity and the mouth manifestations as well. Again, all of those things contribute to or can be symptoms of riboflavin deficiency. Now, there are a few others on this list, and these are, again, a little less common, but you can see here migraines. Riboflavin is one of the ingredients used as a prophylactic, meaning a preventative for migraine headaches, for headache triggers in general. If you ever look at some of these formulas that are designed, these nutritional support formulas that are designed for migraineurs, you're commonly going to see vitamin B2 and B12 and magnesium as common agents in these formulas. And B2, of course, because B2 is critical as a prophylactic for migraines. We'll talk about why in just a minute. It actually plays a role with these three nutrients together play a role in that. Hair loss can be a manifestation of riboflavin deficiency. Sore throat. So if you don't have an infection, but your throat is constantly sore, you're constantly struggling with a sore throat, then that could be a vitamin B2 deficiency. Digestive issues. Right, digestive issues, indigestion, got GI pain, those are things that can manifest as riboflavin deficiency. And again, in babies, this is more not in adults, right? But in babies, we can get abnormal growth. Riboflavin, again, what did I show you earlier? It's critical for energy production. If you don't have that energy production, it's really hard for babies to grow on cue and on target when they're not making adequate energy from their food. Let's talk a little bit about that migraine piece. So one of the things that riboflavin is important for is for getting rid of homocysteine. Now, I've talked about homocysteine a lot. Homocysteine is a neurotoxin. It's a vascular toxin. And so it can contribute to migraines. It can contribute to heart disease, and it can contribute to diabetes and cancer and bone loss. Very powerful. And this is a simple thing to measure in your bloodstream. If you're not asking your doctor when you go in for your annual checkups to measure this, you should be, because it can be a reflection of B12 and B2 as well as folate. So many of you are familiar with folate. Many of you are probably familiar with MTHFR. This is methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. This is the name of the enzyme that many people test for the genetic mutation for, the genetic SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism. But this MTHFR, for it to properly work, you need vitamin B2. Everybody's always focused on taking methylfolate with an MTHFR SNP, but very few times do you hear people talking about vitamin B2 being important for that enzyme to work. It's because vitamin B2 helps that enzyme work that folate is helpful at regulating homocysteine. So this is one of the connections. Okay, B12, B2, folate all can help lower homocysteine. Important that you understand that interconnected relationship. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.